Arrow Season 2, Episode 10, Blast Radius. So this episode is the first one we get, picking up from the mid-season finale. Barry, he's going to be Flash once he actually wakes up, but it's been 5 weeks since that last episode, which I really enjoyed that there was actually a pretty big span of time. So it's been, over a month, and, Oliver's been looking for, brother blood, basically. He's been going after villains, or, well, criminals, really, I won't call them villains, but he's been going after criminals, left and right, trying to figure out where is Brother Blood. He has the Mirakuru, and obviously this is a huge problem because he knows what it does. He dealt with Slade, he dealt with Solomon Grundy, so he fought this guy, and he was pretty much just beat up in like the one episode where I think it was the first part of the mid-season finale. He really beat him up. He took like maybe two or three hits, and Oliver was down. So he knew how difficult it could be. And when he talks to Diggle, he says, "We basically had to drop a building on this guy. So imagine 10 or 100 of these people. Them having an army would like destroy us. There would be no way we could do this." And so you see, this affects Oliver because, like I said, he dealt with sort of the flashback in the past, which as usual is really good in this episode. Very short, but it came in at all the right moments, and it was like the first time they did it, like when he picked up the jacket, or I think that was the second time, but the first time I was just like, give me a flashback, and they did it right when I said it. It was just the perfect moment to do it, and them showing Slade, right after they bury Shadow, and something that they mentioned in this episode, that Sarah mentions during the flashback, is the Mirakuru. It either messes people up mentally or physically. So we got to see that it obviously messed up Slade mentally, and obviously we've seen him in present times. He looks perfectly fine, and he's probably since he's had a lot of time to deal with that, he's probably a lot calmer mentally from the Mirakuru, but obviously not based off of revenge. But that really led to me thinking, what's going to happen with Roy. Either it's going to be mental or it's going to be physical, and odds are it'll end up being mental. So I'm mostly excited to see kind of how that plays out and how he's able to get a grip on what it is. And it could be with it having been years since Slade had to deal with that, there have probably been tons of refinements to the Mirakuru, although obviously not enough to not kill like a dozen people and only have like two people actually survive. Obviously, those two people being Solomon Grundy and Roy himself. So, we'll have to see how that actually plays out. And we got the little, example of him being super powerful, of course. When the glass falls into him, he ends up healing after like a day or two. And, he saves, not Thea, but he saves their mother, whose name I can't think of. He saves her, and the lighting thing, it falls on his back and stuff, and he's able to just lift it right off of him, and he has the super strength, and he knows it, and of course he's hiding it, and you see sort of the mental problems he's having, and I'm sure it's not just the simple mental problem like I have these superpowers. How in the world do I explain that to my girlfriend? So I think it's gonna be mental, and he's already being affected by the fact that he has to hide it and figure out how do I control this myself, and basically stay normal. So it'll be exciting to see how that plays out. But this episode was really good. They put a lot in it that was really interesting. One of the main things to me, Oliver and Felicity, ever since Barry came in, it was obvious that Barry liked Felicity and Felicity likes Barry. And Oliver didn't really seem jealous. It was just kind of like, who's Barry? He found out who Oliver was really quick, and he saved his life. But it was kind of like, Oliver was really mad during that episode because it was like, it wasn't on my terms and stuff like that. But he came to grips with, he found out, but he's obviously a good enough person to know my secret. And then in this episode, we really got the jealousy factor where, he seems like he was really jealous because obviously Felicity has feelings for Barry, and Barry, who's in a coma at the moment, she's off looking after him in Starling City, so she's not with Oliver and Diggle. These past 5 weeks it's kind of been on and off, and then they have Shrapnel, who's like blowing up buildings, and when she's there and they have that argument where he's like yelling at her, is like, man, he's really, really freaking out. And it's obviously not just the whole jealousy thing, but that's how they kind of played it. And I think they did that just like for us fans because they know they kind of teased that left and right before Barry even came in, and that's obviously been the big thing. Like as soon as Barry came in, people, it was obvious to see like, is Oliver gonna get jealous and is he gonna admit how he feels about Felicity? If he really does, I mean, he obviously cares, but like who knows? He really might not even like her, but just how they play it, it obviously seems like he does. So we'll have to see how that plays out, but they kind of really played on the whole. He could be jealous because he has feelings for her. But in the end, he apologizes and he says, when Barry wakes up, you'll be there and stuff like that. So that was really cool. And I'm definitely excited to see Barry come back. I'm hoping he comes back in this season as a cameo a little bit. I was thinking when they first mentioned the 5 weeks, I was like, oh, he's had 5 weeks. He's Flash at this point. He's gone through dealing with his powers and training and stuff like that and figuring out you know and may not have mastered it, but he's had the time to run around at super speed and stuff like that. And then they mentioned he's in a coma, and I was like, that sucks because they can't just bring him in an episode, and he's doing things where the characters don't know like he's Flash, but we as viewers know like he obviously figured out how to run and how to survive with the super high metabolism and all that, all the things that come with having um, a super speed body. But he's in a coma, so he hasn't really gotten into any of that yet. But also, they're doing a Flash spinoff. It hasn't been greenlit yet, but that's only because they haven't actually finished the pilot. But like they wrote it and then they had to rewrite it, and that's why they didn't actually pitch it and have it greenlit. But I'm sure it will be because obviously with Arrow being so incredibly popular, I don't see why Flash wouldn't be just as popular. And also, the actor is really good when he was in the mid-season finale episodes. He was a great actor. It'll be great to see him as Flash. They put him as like the nerdy character, the nerdy funny guy, who Flash really is, and so it'll be great to see that in an entire series. And I'll just be excited to see that when they actually come out with it. But I'm excited for that, even though it might not happen anytime soon. Just once he wakes up and they have him back in this season, if they do, that'll be a great episode to see, and they might save it for the season finale or something like that. And it would have to be worth the wait because the mid-season finale thing that they did was more than worth the wait, and I wasn't even really expecting that because they kind of put it in as sort of a extra credit type of scene. So I'd love to see him come back in this season because the actor was good. Just the entire show is obviously great, so the writing for him was good, and it'll be great to see how he deals with being Flash. Another thing about this episode, Shrapnel being the main villain, I didn't know much about him. He's one of the lesser characters. Like I looked him up before this just to see, who he is and stuff. And the first picture I saw was actually him as like a robot or something. So this is slightly different, which is obvious because that's what they do with the show. They take sort of creative licenses. But when I first saw him, I thought he was Anarchy just because of how he was talking about politics and this and that. And Anarchy's been in a few things that I've seen lately. Like he was in Beware the Batman when that was on, and he's one of the villains. Or like he's one of like the side mission villains in Batman Arkham Origins. So it was like, man, he's getting all over the place lately. But it didn't end up being him. But I thought he was an interesting villain. Like he obviously wasn't a huge part of this. He blew up two buildings and got caught in the end. He had the little chase scene. But they kind of, the focus of this wasn't the villain in any way. It was really Oliver dealing with the Mirakuru problem, and also us finding out, more about Brother Blood, and realizing that, I mean, we all obviously knew he's working with Slade, so he's the bad guy. But in the end of this episode, when we find out he's the one who killed his father, I thought that was a great reveal because it was like, this woman isn't his aunt, it's his mom. And I might have missed it when they were talking because I was doing something else, and of course I can't think of the woman's name, but obviously Oliver's friend, Laurel, when she's talking to him and he mentions how his mother killed his father because he like broke her arm and stuff, I thought he was really young when he said that, and he could have been really young when he killed his father. But I thought he would, when he was talking about that, he was at such a young age that he wouldn't be able to do something like that and you get away with it. But he did say she shot him, so a kid could easily get a gun and shoot someone. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out because obviously when Laurel's finding out he's the one who killed his father, he's going up to Oliver, obviously as the vigilante and saying, we can both help this city, and he's playing that role, and obviously Slade's telling him, befriend the vigilante, act like you appreciate what he's doing and stuff, so we can get closer to him. And I just can't wait to see how that kind of blows up in Oliver's face and the crazy things he's gonna have to deal with because of that. But overall, great episode coming back from the mid-season finale. Like I said, cannot wait for Barry to come back, but I don't think we'll get that to the end of the season if we even get it. But can't wait for the flashback stuff too because of course at the end, Slade kind of disappears. So I'm wondering if he'll find out the truth about what happened with Shadow without Oliver and Sarah, or if they will all end up being together, with Ivo when he finds out. So I'm excited to see how all that plays out and how Ivo kind of turns Slade against, Oliver, if he does, or if, Slade just kills him off and then goes after Oliver, which might end up being the case. But either way, excited for the season. Glad it started back up because I always hate, love winter because of winter break. But I hate it because, we gotta wait for all the shows to come back. But I'm glad Arrow's back on. Definitely excited for next week. So comment below, let me know what you guys thought this episode. Favorite parts, least favorite parts. And definitely tell me what you're most excited for now that the season's, started back up. What do you guys want to see happen the most, in the next couple of weeks? So comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.